Cold wind moved across the black sky as the cargo ship Starlight Ember floated near the dead moon. Jax Rowan stood at the viewing deck, his hand resting on the rough scar that cut across his left cheek. He had no memory of how he got it. Every night it burned like fire. Tonight, it felt alive. The ship lights flickered once, just once, but long enough to make the crew stop talking. A low hum followed, soft and strange, like a voice hidden in static. Jax looked at the stars. Something out there was calling. "Captain, sensors read a faint signal from the moon," said Mira, the ship's pilot. Her voice shook. "No station there. No beacon. Just a whisper." Jax nodded. "Plot a course. Let's see who whispers in the dark." The moon's surface was silver dust and broken rock. As the landing ramp lowered, Jax's scar burned hotter. The air smelled like metal and rain, though no clouds moved above. He felt eyes on him. A narrow path of glowing stones led toward a tall arch made of black crystal. It pulsed with soft green light, like a heartbeat. The crew followed, weapons ready. But Jax felt something different, a pull, almost gentle. Inside the arch, the light thickened. Shapes moved within it, half seen, long limbs, eyes like molten silver. A voice brushed against Jax's mind. "Come closer, survivor." His heart pounded. He stepped forward before anyone could stop him. The chamber beyond the arch was vast, carved from one giant piece of obsidian. At its center stood a throne of shifting metal. And upon it sat a figure, tall, elegant, skin the color of midnight stars. A crown of living light rested on her head. Her eyes were endless galaxies, the alien queen. She rose with a slow grace. Every movement sent ripples through the air. When she came near, the chamber trembled like a beating heart. Her long fingers reached toward Jax's face. He could not move. Her touch was cool, almost kind. Her fingers traced the scar on his cheek. "You survived," she whispered, voice like 1,000 echoes. A shiver ran through him. The crew behind him gasped. The queen's eyes held old storms and silent wars. "You carry the mark of the first war," she said. "Yet you do not remember. The memory sleeps, but it waits." Jax swallowed hard. "What war? What mark?" She tilted her head, a faint smile ghosting her lips. "The war that will come again. The scar is not a wound. It is a key." The chamber lights flared, blinding white. For an instant, Jax saw images flash before him, burning skies, ships torn apart, a young boy running through fire. Then darkness returned. Mira shouted from behind. "Captain, we need to leave. Now." But the queen's hand stayed on his face. "Leave if you wish," she said softly. "He must choose to remember. The galaxy depends on it." Jax's heart raced. The scar pulsed like a second heartbeat. Something inside him, something ancient, stirred. "What do you mean?" he asked. His voice cracked. The queen's eyes glimmered. "You survived once. Will you survive again? The answer hides within you. Wake the memory, or all will fall." Before he could speak, the ground shook violently. A deep roar echoed through the chamber walls. The stones of the arch outside began to crack. The queen stepped back, her form glowing brighter. "Decide quickly, human. The stars do not wait." The crew scrambled toward the exit. Mira grabbed Jax's arm. "Captain, the moon is breaking apart. We have to go." But Jax stood frozen. The queen's whisper lingered in his mind. "You survived." He touched the scar again. It burned like a brand, but also, it called, far above, the sky split with a sudden flash of green fire. Something massive moved beyond the stars. And the queen's final words echoed through the shaking chamber. "The war begins again. The moon cracked like old glass as the crew ran back to the starlight ember. Dust storms rose around them, silver clouds swallowing the black sky. Jax followed last, his scar burning with every step. The alien queen's whisper still echoed in his head, "Wake the memory, or all will fall." Inside the ship, alarms blared. Mira locked the hatch and pulled the ship up from the shaking ground. Rocks the size of towers exploded below. Lightning without clouds flashed green across the void. "Engines full!" Mira shouted. The starlight ember shot into the dark. But Jax barely noticed the escape. He sat in the command chair, breathing hard. Behind his eyes, images flickered, a child running through smoke, a silver blade, stars turning red. The scar throbbed with each flash. "Captain, what happened in there?" Mira asked. Her face was pale. "That woman. She looked at you like she knew you." Jax shook his head. "I don't know. But I think she's right. I've seen her before." The word surprised even him. Hours later, the ship drifted in silent space. The crew tried to rest, but the tension was heavy. Jax stared at the star map. A faint new signal pulsed on the screen, soft, rhythmic, the same beat as his scar. It came from a region known as the Ash Belt, a graveyard of lost ships. "Should we follow it?" Mira asked. Jax hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. Whatever's inside my head, maybe it started there." The Ash Belt was a maze of dead metal and frozen rock. Old warships floated like ghosts. The signal grew stronger as they moved between broken hulls. Suddenly, the scar seared with heat. Jax gasped and fell to one knee. Images slammed into his mind, bright and sharp. He was a boy again, standing on a burning world. Alien ships cut the sky with green fire. A hand, tall, slender, the same as the Queen's, reached down to him. "Run, little survivor," the voice said. He remembered a blade of light striking his face. Pain. Darkness. Jax. Mira caught him before he fell. "What's happening?" He opened his eyes, heart racing. "I was there, in the First War. I was a child. She saved me." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. "That's impossible," one whispered. "The First War was centuries ago." Jax touched the scar. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "Not impossible," he said. "I think I was frozen, hidden, something kept me alive." The signal drew them to a massive wreck at the center of the belt. It was an ancient alien dreadnought, black and silent. Its surface shimmered with faint green symbols, the same color as the Queen's crown. A small docking port still worked. Mira frowned. "Captain, that ship is older than any record. How is it still powered?" Jax stared at the glowing symbols. "They're calling me," he said softly. "She wants me to open the door." They entered the dead ship. The air inside was cold and heavy, like walking through memory. Strange lights glowed in long halls of metal vines. Every step echoed like distant drums. At the center lay a huge chamber with a single round door. The symbols on it pulsed in rhythm with Jax's scar. The pattern almost matched the shape of his wound. Mira stepped back. "This feels wrong," she whispered. "What if it's a trap?" Jax placed his hand on the door. The scar burned bright, and the symbols flared alive. The door opened with a deep sigh. Inside was a crystal sphere floating in dark air. Within it swirled fragments of light, like pieces of a broken star. A voice filled the chamber, soft but vast. "You are the keeper of the first memory. The war returns. The key is you." Jax trembled. The crew stared, silent. The sphere pulsed once. Then a rush of light shot from it into Jax's mind. He screamed as visions flooded in, endless battlefields, the alien queen standing against a shadow that ate worlds. When the light faded, he fell to his knees. And the queen's whisper returned, clearer than ever. Survive again, or all will end. The crystal sphere dimmed to a faint glow. Jax knelt on the cold floor, breath sharp in his chest. The vision still burned behind his eyes, giant shadow ships, stars swallowed whole, the alien queen standing alone against a black tide. Mira crouched beside him. "Captain, what did you see?" Jax wiped sweat from his scar. "A war," he whispered. "Older than the galaxy's maps. Something, coming back." The chamber trembled, a slow deep sound like a distant drum. The sphere pulsed once more, then cracked with a flash of green light. From the crack poured thin streams of mist that coiled like snakes. They hissed as they touched the floor, leaving black burns. "Back to the ship," Mira said, her voice sharp. "Now." The crew turned, but a sudden vibration rolled through the ancient hull. Metal walls groaned. The door behind them slammed shut with a heavy clang. Jax felt the scar ignite, a fire racing down his nerves. He staggered. The mist gathered, shaping itself into a towering shadow with no clear face, only two glowing red eyes. A deep voice echoed, layered like thunder. "The survivor, the key, you will not wake the memory." The crew raised their blasters, but Jax lifted a hand. "No," he said, though fear tightened his throat. The shadow stepped closer. Each footfall made the floor tremble. Jax heard the alien queen's whisper inside his mind. "Do not fight with fear. The memory is your shield." "What are you?" Jax asked the shadow. The voice rumbled. "We are the silence between stars. We ended worlds before your kind learned fire. You were hidden from us, but not forever." Suddenly the scar flared white-hot. Jax fell forward, palms on the cold metal. Light poured from the wound, bright and sharp, cutting through the chamber like a blade. The shadow roared and stumbled back. The mist burned away where the light touched. Mira stared, wide-eyed. "Jax, your scar, it's glowing." Jax barely heard her. The queen's voice filled his mind again. "The key awakens. Remember." Another flood of vision struck him. He saw himself as a child in a burning city. The alien queen knelt before him, placing a small crystal in his hand. "This will hide you," she said. "When the stars call again, the scar will guide you. You are our last hope." He saw her press a glowing blade across his cheek, the moment of the scar. Pain. Then silence and cold sleep. He gasped as the memory ended. The shadow gave a final hiss and dissolved into dark smoke. The cracked sphere pulsed once more, then shattered completely, scattering green light across the chamber. The heavy door groaned open. Mira helped Jax to his feet. "Captain, what happened to you?" Jax stood unsteady, the glow fading from his scar. "They hid me," he said softly. "They made me, a weapon against whatever that thing was." The crew exchanged frightened looks. Back on the starlight ember, silence hung in the air as they left the dead dreadnought behind. Outside, the ash belt shimmered with distant lightning. Jack studied the star map. A new signal flickered there, stronger, sharper. It pointed toward a cluster of worlds known as the Rift Edge. "That's where we go next," he said. Mira frowned. "And if that shadow follows?" Jax touched the scar, feeling a slow pulse beneath his skin. "Then we find out why I survived. And we finish what the Queen started." Far away, beyond the belt, a dark shape moved between stars, massive, silent, watching. The Queen's whisper returned, soft but urgent. "The war wakes. Hurry, survivor." Jax closed his eyes, the echo of her voice steadying him. The next battle had already begun. The starlight ember slid through deep space, chasing the sharp signal toward the rift edge. Stars stretched like silver wires, but Jax's thoughts stayed heavy. The scar on his face pulsed every few minutes, a quiet drumbeat that no one else could hear. Mira studied him from the pilot's seat. "You haven't slept," she said. "Sleep feels dangerous," Jax replied. "Every time I close my eyes, the Queen shows me more. I see worlds burning. I hear that shadow voice." Mira tightened her grip on the controls. "Then we better reach the rift fast." The rift edge appeared as a torn wound in space, a long black rift surrounded by storm-colored light. Energy storms spun like slow hurricanes, and lightning flashed inside the dark slit of space. "That can't be natural," said Kor, the engineer. "It looks alive." The signal from Jax's scar grew louder, a steady pulse matching the rift's lightning. Jax touched the mark and felt a strange warmth, a call, but also a warning. They eased the ship closer. Gravity twisted like a whirlpool. Every alarm screamed. Suddenly a small craft emerged from the rift, sleek and black, with no visible engines. It moved like a shadow given form. "Contact?" Mira asked. "No ID," Kor said. "No heat, no life signs." The scar flared. Jax's breath caught. "They're not here to talk." The dark craft fired a burst of silent light. Shields flared red. "Return fire," Jax ordered. The starlight ember dove and spun. Laser blasts sparked across the rift storms. The shadow ship moved too fast, always a step ahead. Jax felt a sudden push inside his mind, like the Queen's whisper but sharper. "Use the memory," her voice urged. "Call the light." He gripped the control console. The scar burned white. Without thinking, he pressed his palm to the dashboard. A surge of bright energy leapt from his scar through the ship's circuits. The starlight ember glowed with sudden green light. Power roared through the engines. "Captain, what are you?" Mira began, but the ship darted forward like a living thing. Jax guided it without the controls, moving as if the ship was part of him. A spear of green light shot from the bow, striking the dark craft. The enemy ship shattered into smoke and scattered sparks. Silence followed. The crew stared at Jax. Kor whispered, "You turned the whole ship into a weapon." Jax lowered his hand, the glow fading. "I didn't mean to. It just happened." Mira looked both amazed and uneasy. "Whatever the Queen did to you, it's more than memory. You're connected to her power." Jax nodded slowly. "And the enemy knows it now." The rift pulsed again, brighter than before. A deep hum rolled through space. A swirl of light formed at its center, an opening. Jax felt the scar throb in answer. "She wants me to go inside," he said. Myra's eyes widened. "That place could tear us apart." "It's a door," Jax said. "And maybe a trap. But if the Queen calls, we go." They guided the starlight ember into the rift. The ship trembled as colors bled across the windows, green, violet, silver, like liquid stars. Inside was not empty space but a hidden world, a vast sphere of black stone floating in endless light. At its core burned a single green sun. As they neared the surface, ancient towers of dark crystal rose like spears. Symbols glowed across them, the same symbols that had marked the dreadnought. "This is her world," Jax whispered. "Where it all began." A low chime filled the ship, gentle but commanding. Then a voice, clear and close, spoke through every speaker. "Survivor. The enemy wakes. Come to the heart, and remember the last truth." The crew looked to Jax. He took a deep breath. "Prepare to land." The scar pulsed once more, steady and strong. Beyond the towers, something vast moved in the shadow of the green sun. The starlight ember settled onto a dark crystal platform that glowed faint green under its landing gear. The air outside shimmered like warm glass, yet the ship's sensors read no heat, no wind, just a quiet hum that vibrated through metal and bone. Jax stepped down the ramp first. The scar on his face beat in rhythm with the humming ground. Mira and Kor followed, weapons ready but faces tense. "This place feels alive," Mira whispered. Jax nodded. "It's waiting." They walked toward a towering gate of black stone carved with endless spirals. As they approached, the gate unfolded like flower petals. A wide hall stretched beyond, filled with soft green light and floating shards of crystal. At the center hovered a sphere of pure light larger than a city. It pulsed like a slow heart. The Queen's voice came from everywhere at once. "Welcome, survivor. You stand in the heart of the green sun." Her tone was calm, but under it Jax heard urgency. The Queen appeared before them, not as a ghost, but in full shape. Her stardark skin shimmered with quiet power, her crown of living light brighter than ever. The crew stepped back. Jax alone held his ground. "You brought me here," he said. "Why?" Her silver eyes locked on his. "Because the shadow has returned. The silence between stars. They end all life to feed their endless dark." Kor swallowed hard. "We saw one, a red-eyed thing in the wreck." The Queen nodded slowly. "That was only a fragment." She turned to Jax and reached for his scar. "You were hidden for this day," she said. "When the first war ended, I placed in you the spark of our light. You are the last key." Jax frowned. "I don't know what that means." "You are bridge and weapon," she said. "Your scar is a door. Through it flows the power to wake what sleeps here, the light that can end the silence forever." The chamber trembled. A deep rumble rolled through the green sun. Far above, the dark shape Jax had sensed now loomed visible, a massive shadow crawling across the sphere's surface. The Queen's eyes narrowed. "They have found us." A sudden cold wind swept the hall though no air should exist. Black mist seeped from cracks in the crystal floor, forming tall figures with red eyes, more than a dozen. Mira raised her blaster. "We can fight." "No," the Queen said, her voice firm. "Guns cannot harm the silence." She turned to Jax. "You must open the scar." Jax felt his heart pound. "How?" "Do not resist it," she said. "Let the memory flow." The shadows advanced, their steps heavy and soundless. Jax closed his eyes. The scar burned hot, then hotter, until he felt no pain, only light. Memories surged through him, the First War's chaos, the Queen's armies of light, the moment she pressed the glowing blade to his cheek. Her words echoed, "When the stars call again, the scar will guide you." A shockwave burst from Jax's scar, bright and pure. The hall filled with green fire. The shadow figures screamed, a deep, tearing sound, and disintegrated into black dust. But the great shape outside still moved, massive and patient. The Queen stepped closer, her face calm but eyes bright. "You have awakened the first light," she said. "But the silence is vast. The true battle waits beyond this world." Jax opened his eyes. The green glow faded to a steady pulse. "What do I do?" he asked. "Travel to the outer gate," the Queen replied. "There lies the heart of the silence. Only you can carry the first light across the dark." Mira approached, eyes wide. "Captain, if this thing is real, the whole galaxy could die." Jax looked at his crew, then back at the Queen. "We'll go," he said. "But we'll need a path." The Queen raised her hand. A map of swirling stars formed in the air, a line of green fire leading far beyond known space. The ground shook again, harder now. From the distant green sun came a low roar, deep enough to rattle bones. The Queen's gaze sharpened. "They come faster than I feared. Go, survivor. The war waits, and the galaxy hangs by a single breath. Jax felt the scar throb, strong and ready. He turned toward the ship. "We're not running," he said. "We're starting the fight." Behind them, the green sun flared like a living heart, the starlight ember lifted from the Queen's crystal platform, engines wrapped in a soft green glow that lingered from Jax's touch. The hidden world fell away below, its green sun pulsing like a steady drumbeat. No one spoke. The crew moved with quiet focus, each aware of the heavy mission ahead. Mira broke the silence first. "Captain, how far is the outer gate?" Jax studied the star map the Queen had given him. A thin green line stretched across unknown space. "Far," he said. "And no safe path." Space outside the rift was darker than normal night. Stars faded behind a curtain of gray mist. Kor watched the scanners. "No signals," he muttered. "Not even background radiation. It's like the universe stops here." The scar on Jax's face throbbed in a slow rhythm. "She said the silence lives between stars," he said. "This must be their territory." Mira shivered. "Feels like they're watching." Hours turned into a cold, endless drift. The crew kept weapons close, though everyone knew blasters would not help. Suddenly the console lights flickered. The ship jolted hard. What was that? Kor shouted. The forward window showed nothing but swirling gray. Then a ripple, like a shadow wave, rolled across the void. The scar on Jax's face burned white-hot. "They found us," he said. From the mist emerged shapes, long, thin, impossible to count. Ships of pure black, edges glowing faint red, slid silently through the void. Their movement was too smooth, like creatures swimming in deep water. Alarms wailed. Mira gripped the controls. "They're surrounding us." Jax heard the Queen's whisper in his mind. "Use the first light. Trust it." He placed his hand on the console. The scar blazed, sending a rush of green energy through the ship. A dome of green light formed around the starlight ember. The shadow ships fired thin beams of red energy, but the shots vanished against the dome like raindrops in a fire. The scar pulsed faster. Jax felt his own heartbeat match it. Without thinking, he spoke. "Hold course. We break through." The starlight ember surged forward, pushing against the gray mist. The enemy ships swirled around them, but none could pierce the shield. Inside the green glow, Jax saw flashes, quick images of the Queen, her hand raised, her voice a silent guide. "Light is not only defense," she whispered. "It is a path." He focused, letting the memory flow. The green dome narrowed into a bright spear ahead of the ship. "Brace," he said. The starlight ember shot forward like an arrow of light, cutting through the enemy formation. The shadow fleet broke apart, twisting and folding back into the mist. Their red eyes flickered once, then disappeared. Silence returned. Mira exhaled, hands shaking on the controls. "Captain, how did you?" "I don't know," Jax admitted. "It's like the ship listens to me now. Or maybe the light listens through me." Kor checked the sensors. "They're gone. But the outer gate signal is stronger." They followed the glowing map deeper into the silent void. The stars ahead began to twist, bending like reflections on water. Then a massive ring appeared, black stone floating in nothing, large enough to swallow a planet. "The outer gate," Jax whispered. The ring pulsed with faint red cracks, as if something inside pressed to break free. The scar throbbed in warning. A voice, deep and cold, filled the cabin, different from the Queen's, layered with echoes. "Survivor, you cannot stop the silence. Come closer and join the dark." The ship's lights dimmed. Metal groaned under invisible pressure. Mira looked to Jax. "What now?" He set his jaw. "We finish what we started." He placed his hand on the console once more. The scar flared bright green. The outer gate began to open, the starlight ember floated before the vast black ring. Red cracks glowed across its surface like veins of fire. As the gate opened, the stars around it seemed to fade, leaving only darkness beyond. Jack stood at the command deck, his scar blazing hot. A low, endless whisper echoed from the gate. "Join the dark, become silence." Mira gripped the controls, eyes wide. "Captain, it's like a mouth waiting to swallow us." Jax nodded slowly. "But we can't turn back." The ship eased forward. Inside the ring stretched a void so deep it felt alive. The moment they crossed the threshold, gravity twisted. Time itself felt slower. Suddenly the console screens flared red. A shape formed ahead, a colossal figure of black mist and burning red eyes, larger than a moon. Its voice thundered across the void. "You are the last key," it said. "Your light will feed the dark." The starlight ember shook under a wave of force. Metal groaned. Sparks burst from the panels. Jax planted his feet. The scar burned brighter than ever. The Queen's voice filled his mind, clear and steady. "Do not fear. You carry the first light. Let it rise." That he placed his palm on the console. Green energy raced through the ship. A dome of light formed again, but the shadow pressed harder. Mira shouted, "It's breaking through." Jax closed his eyes. He let the memories flood in, every vision, every battle, every whisper of the Queen. The scar pulsed like a second heart. A sudden surge of warmth filled him, not pain but power. Light poured from the scar into his chest, his arms, the entire ship. The starlight ember glowed like a small star. The giant shadow roared. Red lightning lashed against the green shield, but the light held. Jax opened his eyes. "They want to eat light," he said. "Then let's give them more than they can take." He stepped forward, touching the main console with both hands. The green glow sharpened into a blazing spear. It burst outward, striking the center of the dark figure. The void shook like a struck bell. The shadow screamed, a sound like tearing worlds. Cracks of white light ripped through its massive form. Still it reached toward them, endless and hungry. The Queen's voice urged, "One more, all of you together." Mira and Kor pressed their hands beside Jax's. The ship's core answered with a roar of pure energy. The spear of light grew until it filled the entire gate. The shadow fractured, pieces falling away like shattered glass. Its red eyes flickered, then vanished. A final wave of green light exploded outward, sweeping through the gate and into the empty stars. Silence followed, true silence, deep and clean. When the glow faded, the starlight ember drifted in calm space. The black ring was gone. Where it had been now shone a quiet field of ordinary stars. Jack sagged against the console, the scar on his face warm but no longer burning. Mira let out a long breath. "It's over," she whispered. Jack stared at the stars. "For now," he said. "The silence is broken. But light needs watching." A soft, familiar whisper touched his mind. "Survivor," the Queen said, her voice gentle, almost proud. "You have awakened the first light. The galaxy breathes because of you." Jax closed his eyes and let her words settle. "Not just me," he answered quietly. "My crew. My family." The Queen's voice faded like the end of a song. "Then go, protector. Keep the stars alive." The starlight ember turned toward open space, engines glowing faint green. Behind them lay a silent void, now peaceful. Ahead stretched countless stars, waiting. Jax touched the scar one last time. It no longer throbbed with pain, only a steady, quiet strength. "Set a course," he said. Mira smiled faintly. "Anywhere." "Anywhere," Jax replied. "And everywhere the light is needed." The ship leapt into the endless dark, carrying the last light of a saved galaxy.